the heart of this nation, under skies so blue,
there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true.
from the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep into the heart of what we believe.
You know, when a sitting judge, faces consequences like a suspension, well, it really makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It's not something you hear about every day.
And that's exactly where we're heading today. We're going to dig into the situation around Milwaukee Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan.
Yeah, and her recent temporary suspension by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Big news.
Big news indeed. Now, we've got a primary source. We're looking at an article from Red State. It gives, let's say, a particular viewpoint on this whole thing.
Right, one perspective. It's always good to know the lens we're looking through.
Exactly. So our goal here is to kind of get past the initial headlines, the shock maybe, and really try to understand what's being alleged.
What the actual charges are and, how different people are seeing this situation.
What's striking, I think, or at least it struck me, was how fast the Wisconsin Supreme Court acted.
Oh, absolutely. Things like this, these judicial processes, they can often drag on. So a quick temporary suspension like this, it suggests a pretty significant level of concern right off the bat.
Yeah, definitely raises eyebrows. Now, you might have seen some of the initial buzz floating around, maybe some mainstream headlines, even framing Judge Dugan's FBI arrest as potentially silencing dissent.
Right, I saw some of that talk. Concerns from attorneys, worries about, judicial independence.
That phrase chilling effect gets thrown around too.
Yeah, and in a legal sense, that usually means, well, are other judges now going to be hesitant, scared to act, maybe, even if they think they're within the law because they fear consequences?
It's that balance, isn't it? Accountability versus letting judges do their jobs independently.
Exactly.
And that kind of leads us straight into the perspective in this Red State article we mentioned.
Okay.
They see it very differently. They basically argue that focusing on dissent is, well, missing the point entirely.
So what is the point, according to them?
Their argument is pretty clear. She wasn't arrested for having an opinion or disagreeing with policy. They say she was arrested for allegedly breaking the law, specifically helping someone who the article calls an illegal alien avoid ICE agents right there in her courthouse.
Okay, so a specific alleged action, not just a general disagreement.
Right. And they stress that the FBI got involved precisely because of that, the specific federal charge of obstructing a federal ICE arrest.
That focus on obstruction is important. It shifts the narrative from political dissent to an alleged criminal act against federal authorities. The article seems to be emphasizing as, no one's above the law, judge or not.
Yeah, that seems to be the core message. And when you bring in federal agencies like the FBI, it signals that this is being treated as a potential violation of federal law, which obviously has its own specific procedures and consequences.
Sure does.
So this is where things took a really sharp turn and fast. The Red State article was right on it, reporting that the Wisconsin Supreme Court had, in fact, temporarily suspended Judge Dugan's judicial powers.
And they mentioned the date specifically, right? Tuesday, April 29th, 2025. Breaking news at the time.
Yep. They even highlighted, I think, a post mentioning it.
And that formal order from the state's highest court, calling her temporarily relieved of her official duties. That's pretty strong language.
It really underscores the seriousness, doesn't it? It shows the court believes there's enough there, at least initially, to say, okay, pause, step away from the bench while this gets sorted out.
It's a significant move. Not a final judgment on guilt or innocence in the criminal case, obviously, but a major administrative action.
Definitely. So let's dig into those specifics a bit more. The actual charges she's facing, they're federal criminal charges, and they sound pretty serious.
Good idea.
Obstruction of an official proceeding, and also concealing an individual to prevent their discovery and arrest.
Okay. Obstruction and concealment.
And the article says these charges came up after evidence reportedly surfaced, suggesting she actively shielded this person from ICE agents. That's according to the criminal complaint anyway.
Right. So obstruction of an official proceeding in this kind of context, it generally means actions that deliberately get in the way of a legitimate government process. Like, in this case, an ICE arrest.
And the concealment part.
That speaks pretty directly to the act of, hiding someone specifically to stop law enforcement from finding or arresting them. And again, federal charges because it involves the federal agency, ICE.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, to really get a clearer picture, we kind of need to know a bit more about the individual involved, the person Judge Dugan is accused of helping.
Yeah, the context around that person seems pretty relevant.
The Red State article pulls in information from, I think it was a post by Margot Cleveland. It sheds some light.
And what did that say?
Reportedly, this individual wasn't just, anyone. They had apparently been deported before.
Okay.
Had committed a felony just by re-entering the U.S. after deportation.
Right, that's illegal reentry, a serious offense.
And on top of that was facing charges 3 counts of domestic abuse resulting in pain or injury.
Wow. Okay, that definitely adds several layers to the story.
It really does. It moves it beyond maybe a simple narrative of someone just seeking refuge or something.
Absolutely. Existing criminal charges, prior deportation, illegal reentry. These are significant legal factors and potential ethical ones, too, depending on what exactly happened.
For sure. And the post, the one referenced in the article, it directly tackles these comparisons some people were apparently making.
Comparisons to what?
To, believe it or not, hiding Anne Frank, though the article itself calls that comparison inappropriate.
Okay, wow. Yeah, that seems a stretch.
That's the argument being made anyway, that there's a huge difference between protecting an innocent child fleeing genocide and allegedly helping someone who has a prior deportation and felony reentry and is currently facing serious domestic violence charges.
It's a stark contrast, certainly. The article, or the posted sites, seems worried that the judge's alleged actions might have actually delayed things.
Delayed what?
Delayed the criminal proceedings in the domestic abuse case. Delayed justice, potentially for the alleged victim in that situation.
Ah, right. That's a crucial point. It highlights the complexity. Assisting someone facing criminal charges, especially violent ones, has very different implications than, say, offering sanctuary to a refugee fleeing persecution.
Definitely need to consider the impact on everyone involved. It's complicated.
So, boiling it down from the Red State article's perspective, this looks less like a political issue and more like, well, a straightforward case, an alleged crime, followed by what they see as a legitimate arrest.
And they probably feel the quick action by the Wisconsin Supreme Court sort of backs up that view.
That seems to be the implication, yeah, that the court saw enough smoke to take immediate action.
Of course, we should remember this is the viewpoint from this one source.
Good point.
Crucial reminder.
The Supreme Court's suspension is, like we said, an administrative step. It's not the final word on the criminal charges. There's a whole legal process still to play out, and we'll likely hear other perspectives as things develop. Absolutely. Always important to keep that in mind. Now, there's one more piece here we should probably touch on, just for completeness, because the Red State article brings it up.
Okay, what's that?
It's the political context. They explicitly mention the Trump administration's stance on illegal immigration and border security.
Ah, bringing in the wider political debate.
Right. And they actually include a direct quote in the article. It says, thanks to President Trump, illegal immigration into our great country has virtually stopped. Despite the radical left's lies, new legislation wasn't needed to secure our border, just a new president.
Okay. So a very clear political statement there, linking the situation to broader immigration policy debates and crediting the previous administration.
Exactly. And just to be crystal clear for everyone listening, we're pointing this out because it's in the source material we're discussing.
Right. We're reporting on the viewpoint presented in the article, not endorsing it ourselves.
Yeah.
It's part of understanding how they are framing this specific event within a larger political narrative.
Precisely. It helps you, the listener, see the different angles and interpretations that are out there surrounding this incident.
And understanding that political framing, as presented by the source, is definitely part of grasping the whole context. It shows how these events can be immediately pulled into ongoing political arguments.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together then. What do we got?
Well, we have Judge Dugan, alleged to have helped someone evade ICE agents at the courthouse.
Right. Then she's arrested by the FBI, federal charges, obstruction, concealment.
And then, very quickly, the Wisconsin Supreme Court steps in and temporarily suspends her judicial powers. Takes her off the bench for now.
Yeah. It really leaves us with a pretty profound central question, doesn't it?
Which is,
what are the implications here? I mean, a sitting judge facing criminal charges for supposedly obstructing federal authorities, that's huge.
It really is. It touches on so many things: the integrity of the judiciary, the separation of powers between state and federal, how the law gets applied.
Yeah.
Big stuff.
Absolutely. So when you consider all these different perspectives we've touched on, the seriousness of the charges, What does this whole situation maybe reveal to you about, I don't know, the messy intersection of law, justice, and immigration enforcement? Does it raise any other questions for you, maybe about the balance of power or individual actions within that whole legal system? It certainly gives you a lot to chew on.
In the heart of this nation, under skies so blue, there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true. From the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep into the heart of what we believe. Conservative values in our souls, they're interweaved. With courage and with honor, we'll hold our ground for freedom, for tradition in this land we found. We cherish our Constitution,